Okay, welcome back, folks. So we saw in our previous videos that we could, with our data layers applied, that we can turn off. We can come into override the default and turn off or on whether we've got elements. But if you notice, hey, I'm turning off the trees and the rocks here, but they still seem to be there in my world, and that's because I've got the exterior still enabled. So if I turn off this, everything goes away. If I put the tree, the statue, or the rocks back, they populate back in. But notice none of the other elements that are part of the exterior come back until I bring those back in. So you can see in this respect that some of our filters we're going to need to be careful with. With the interior variation, I can either load them to overlap, in this case of what I've got here, which isn't great. I can just turn them off, and ideally what I'm going to do is sort of swap which variation is possible. But if I've got an asset with more than one data layer, then potentially the issues are going to be that it's going to be confusing as to which one of these data layers is going to bring these elements in. So having variations that complement or build the environment is probably better than having just an overall control like this, and maybe you could sort of designate them by sort of area or give a group a name or a definition, that so you could add in perhaps this collection, or just have the tree, just have it as trees, statues, rocks, debris, and then essentially you click them all on off. So that's one of the issues that you should really want to be aware of, is having sort of overriding features for interior or exterior might not be great, but that might mean that you have a sort of an excessive amount of these sorts of filters here that you're going to need to try and organize, which perhaps isn't going to be great. It's also organized alphabetically, and again, maybe that isn't great in terms of how you want to sort of filter these assets sort of later on. So maybe they don't sort of sit next to each other. The exterior here and the rock statue trees don't sit next to each other in a kind of an organized way. So again, perhaps a bit of a problem there. One of the other problems is that we could perhaps say, okay, if I look at my world outliner, you can see that if I turn elements of these off, then my blueprint is loading all of these assets, but it's filtering these out. Now, whilst that sounds great, it's still doing a bit of work to bring these actors into my world. They're just filtered as part of what I've got. I haven't actually got rid of them. They're still sort of considering there in the background, and obviously that has an effect, an overhead of perhaps how we might work in production or what's been loaded into the editor. So not great. A solution to this is potentially to consider creating a sort of a pack level actor from our filtered data. So what we could do here is we could look at our blueprint as it is, or our level instance as it is at the moment. So we could say this is a sort of an empty sort of building. It's got no interior, no exterior, pretty run of the mill. Let's take what we've got here, and then let's create a pack level actor from what we've got here. Okay, so if we've got the pivot as none, it will just sort of sit as the default. So let's do that. So let's create a pack level actor from this. We can do PLA level instance, and we could call this, I don't know, something like empty or something like that, or plain or something like that. Just for this demo is fine, and that's all good. Okay, now we get a bunch of errors, and you can see actually what the errors are. Is that the decals are not being actually packed as part of what's going on. This is not packed into the level instance, which means we've got a bit of a problem. You can see that I've got my pack level actor sort of level that's here, and I've got a single actor that I can drag into the world. Now, this is the benefit of the pack level actors, is that the sort of the one file per actor sort of system works really nice, because I've got a single asset here in the world, and essentially I can work in that sort of top down or hierarchical approach, where anything I do sort of further down the line can be passed through into this blueprint or pack level actor. So I can come in to sort of start to edit this if I want. As you can see, I can bring this into a hierarchical instant static mesh. So I can start to work with those ideas of instances. What you'll notice as well is that the blueprint does allow me the opportunity to have some filters, but I need to go and edit the blueprint in order to bring those through. But then it's only one actor that's here in the world. So let's say I do want to edit this. I can come down to those filters and maybe say I want a dome on this asset. I can apply that, and as you can see, it's going to sort of go through the process to sort of pack those back in and bring it through. And again, I need to compile and sort of save this. It's still only one actor, as you can see here, but now it's sort of updated. So what you could do with this essentially is to name your pack level actors as a variation control. So you can have a variation where you've got an empty one with a dome, one with trees, and so on and so forth. So if you had the interiors, for example, the interiors could have like a jar store or crate storage or anything else like that. Okay. But the problem from the pack level actor is that we haven't got the decals, we haven't got those lights as well, and that is a problem. And so this is where our PCG is going to come in, because with using our PCG system, as we'll go back over this way, with our PCG system we will be able to load in those decals and those lights, as well as do things with splines. And that's what we're going to do in our next video. I'll see you there.